All right, in today's video, we're going to talk about asbestos. So a lot of first-time buyers may find themselves buying an older property. An older property can have all sorts of things in it, and asbestos is one of the things, even though it's been illegal for a long time, we still bump into it quite a bit in real estate. So quick overview about asbestos and what's going to happen in this video is we're going to talk about why asbestos was used so widely, and we're going to talk about exactly sort of how dangerous asbestos is. I think a lot of people think they know, but when you actually go out there and read quite a bit of stuff about it, you may get a different answer. Ultimately, everyone has a different risk tolerance. The purpose of this video is to sort of educate you on what kind of options are available to you for homes that have asbestos, and sort of how risky or not risky it is, so that you can make a good decision about whether or not that's something that you want to take on. So for those who haven't met me, I'm Matt Heisler. I am the broker owner of Vanderbilt Properties, and I've been selling real estate for 22 years. I'm not an attorney. Nothing in here is legal advice. I'm not a lender. And a reminder that at the end of this video, I do have a special offer for all buyers and sellers of real estate. If they stick around, that offer is coming up at the end. Asbestos basics. So why is asbestos still in houses? Why was it used there? And the simple reason is it was sort of a wonder material when they discovered it. So it was fire resistant. It was a good insulator, and it was cheap. So when you think about construction, we have a lot of wood houses. We don't want them to burn down. So adding things that were, bordering on fireproof is a good idea. It gets cold. A lot of times we're trying to prevent heat transfer from one place to another, and asbestos was a really good way to do that. So, and it was cheap. I mean, a lot of building products find their way into construction because they are a better price. Not everything is more expensive, and stuff that's inexpensive is going to get a crack, and asbestos was inexpensive, and people didn't realize under what situations it was dangerous. So, they used it for everything: siding, roofing, floor tiles, tile mastic, which is the glue that is used to put tiles together. And because it's been around, we look for it at home inspections. An agent like myself spends some time looking around trying to identify, if asbestos is present in the home before the inspector gets there, just so that we know, so that when he comes there and says, yeah, it probably is, that we're already prepared for it. So why do people get concerned about asbestos? Well, there was a huge settlement because the people that made asbestos didn't properly research it, and people who were exposed to it on a regular basis, some of them got very, very sick. They got cancer, which is mesothelioma, and there were other types of asbestos diseases that you can get. Most of them affect the lungs. I think many of us understand today that asbestos itself has these fibers in it. And if these fibers get into the air and you inhale them, then these fibers get stuck in your lungs. They cause scarring, and they're not good for you, right? So, but it can't be like one fiber, right? It's got to be more. And you can kind of tell because of the way that asbestos has been treated basically since they discovered that it was dangerous. So the long-standing protocol for how to deal with asbestos in the home is to wrap it to make sure that those fibers can't escape. And that's considered safe. All right. So if asbestos is, let's say it's in your tiles, well, they tell you not to rip the tiles up, right? Because it's already encapsulated. Okay. And as long as it's encapsulated and those fibers can't come free, for the most part, the medical community and the housing community, they don't have a lot of concerns with it. So now if you are going to be moving around asbestos, I will tell you that you should not do that, right? You should, today there are people that specialize in things like asbestos that are environmental contaminants, and they are really the professionals, and they are the ones who should remove this. So, and we will talk about that a little bit more coming up. So, when we do look for asbestos, most of the time when we see it, it's wrapped around old steam boiler pipes. That gives you an idea of how long it's been since it's been in use. I don't think I've ever seen asbestos wrapped around a modern day forced hot water pipe, only steam pipes. So, and a big part of that was just, homeowners back in the day, they were just as concerned about making sure that their house stayed warm in the middle of the winter, and wrapping those pipes in a cheap insulator like asbestos was a great way to keep your house warm and save a few bucks. The problem is the stuff was dangerous. Today, almost all of it is wrapped, but a lot of it hasn't necessarily been wrapped very carefully, or we're starting to see that the wrappings are degrading. Um, so the other place where I sort of see asbestos is I see it in siding. And the main thing you need to know is when you remove asbestos, if you have a lot of it, it's very difficult to dispose of, and that increases the cost. So pulling the shingles off the house, that's not so bad from a cost perspective, but you can't just throw this stuff in the landfill, right? There's a special places where you got to get rid of it, and they charge a boatload. So if you have a ton of material to get rid of, then that's very expensive. This is less of a problem for the insulation around the pipes, which again is mostly what we're dealing with because the physical amount of the material isn't usually all that much. I will just tell you that, you can get this stuff remediated. It's super cool how they do it. They create a negative pressure zone whenever they're removing the asbestos so that it doesn't get into the surrounding air. And yeah, and they come in with hazmat suits like this. And these guys come in and they're very careful with it so that they're not breathing it in. They want to make sure you don't breathe it in. A lot of them produce air quality certificates when they're all done so that you know that the air is safe. And once it's gone, it's gone. It's gone forever, right? And so I think that a lot of houses, especially if they have a significant amount of asbestos, I find that, they probably don't sell as well as they might because there's a lot of buyers who just say, hey, asbestos, not doing it, too scary for me. I don't want to be educated on it. I don't want to have to remove it. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm just going to rule this house out. And I would tell you that you're probably going to get a decent deal on that house. And if you get rid of the asbestos, maybe not right away, but sometime down the line, you're probably going to benefit in terms of getting an equity bump there. So, again, as far as home improvement projects go, this one's a winner. If you're a seller and you already have asbestos in your home, think about, remediating, especially if you have, a home equity line and, if you can get it done at a reasonable cost, you will probably get this back when you go out on the market by saying that you no longer have asbestos. So those are my tips about asbestos. Fortunately, today, you know, we're not using it in construction materials today. So every time we take some of it out of a house, that house gets a little bit safer and there's a little bit less asbestos for the rest of us to deal with. And I'm hopeful 10, 20, 30 years, we won't be dealing with this anymore. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you watch the next couple of slides, you will see a discount for folks who've watched this video and bring it up to me when you're looking to buy or sell a home. Take care.